Going on, y'all? It's your main man 5, and I'm back with episode 2 of highlighting up and coming artists. So today I'm back with a familiar face, a familiar artist. We're going to be checking out Herman Martinez again. First of all, shout out to you, Herman, for being bold enough to be able to share your art and be bold enough to take a chance of getting more eyes on it. Regardless of how this goes, you got my respect. And I appreciate you for your support and reaching back out and going for round 2. So let's do it. Herman put out a brand new album recently called UltraTerrestrial. And he emailed me and just said, you checked out my last album and I would like to hear your input on this next one that I just put out. So I'm excited to get right into it. Once again, like I said, we've been extending that olive branch for anybody that wants to get new perspective on their art, whether you do film, poetry, music, paint, photography, whatever it is that you do. If you have art and you want to hear some new perspective and you like the way that we break down art on this channel, make sure you reach out via email. It's down in the description box below and let's work. But until then, make sure you support other up-and-coming artists. Because at the end of the day, all of the big names that you see out there and from the past, the ones you look up to, the ones you're inspired by, they all started in the very same position that we're all starting from. So make sure you stay hungry, stay encouraged, stay open-minded, and stay positive. Support other people. If you want love to come into your life and you want growth and abundance in your life and on your situation, you have to be willing to cheer and be excited for other people first. But, it's just my opinion. Do with that what you will. But this is UltraTerrestrial. Let's get right into it. All right. Song 1 is called Uncanny Valley. Let's get right into it.
There's something here pretending to be me, or is it me pretending to be you? Fragments of film spliced together like always, barely speak, so I'd better mean what I say. Bits of no human, you must have misunderstood.
Okay, run.
Not perfect, but parts of me
So the next song is called Changeling, but before we get into that, I think the biggest thing that I really just want to point out from that first song is I'm feeling the fact that this album seems to be, well, not, I won't say album, but that intro song seems to just set the scene of what it's like to deal with a lot of internal warfare. All of the chatter and the sound effects going on in the beginning of the song and towards the end. I like that it's like, it kind of symbolizes, to me at least, those battling voices and like battling thought processes and perspectives that we have going on in our head and trying to figure out a way to feel more personable, to feel more alive amongst people when we don't truly feel the best about ourselves. I like the fact that he's really just talking about trying to figure things out, trying to get back to a position where he feels like a whole person, where he feels complete. But I also like the fact that it has that semblance of vulnerability and honesty with knowing that, yes, I may have my own internal battles, as we all do, but I do recognize that I'm only human. I'll never be perfect, but there's parts of me that are good. Just taking accountability enough to recognize that you're not all bad, but you're also not all good. I think that self-awareness is very expressive in its own way because it shows a lot of maturity. So I think that was a dope song. And the music kind of gave the same effect. It gave like just a battle that's going on where you're trying to navigate the ins and outs in your own mind and psyche to try to figure out who you truly are. So I love when music lends itself to the lyrics because it becomes a complete experience. But yeah, I think I'm gonna try to not ramble so much throughout the whole album. I'm gonna try to save the majority of what I gotta say for the end, but fuck it, we'll see how it goes. That was fire. I'm starting to see kind of somewhat of a theme. It seems like he's definitely going for the perspective of trying to find oneness with yourself and getting to know yourself more as a complete person instead of only accepting the parts of yourself that you like. I think the only way to truly be happy is to accept who you are completely and figure out what matters to you, figure out what your morals are, what you want to stand by, what your principles that you want to stand on will be. It's like, although everybody is uniquely good and uniquely bad, you have to be able to accept every part of yourself if you want to truly be happy, because just because everybody has good and bad don't mean that you have to be a bad person. I like that he used that in that metaphor right in that line when he said, he said the different lines have a bunch of different handwriting. It's like, obviously the same person's doing it, but I have a lot of different sides to me that are adding to the grand scheme of the story that I'm writing about my life. So I thought that was a powerful line. I think I see what you're trying to go for, but let's see. The next song is called Thagomizer.
Random thoughts, I think our lyrics say nothing with more meaning. Put it in a
Okay. That was hard too. I love the instrumentation on that record.
Eyes that see right through me into memories that don't exist yet. Eyes that see what you see to prove to me I'm real. Better versions of me. I'm becoming with every step to be whatever you need to prove to me I'm real. I've been writing these words one letter at a time for you. I've been holding this world together, counting down to you and your
Those keys.
one line at a time, with all time on the line. Better than perfection, luminous, you light the way, move in all directions to prove to me I'm real. I've been writing these words one letter at a time for you. I've been holding this world together, counting down to you and your one line at a time, with all time on the
So let me tell you why I think that one is really dope. I like the themes of that song because I feel like it relates back to when I was listening to Herman's last album. And he was talking a lot about those strong feelings of love and how it makes you feel connected to somebody in a way that's deeper than just love. Something that feels like your spirits are intertwined, or like you've done this in another lifetime or another timeline or whatever. But leaning so much on that adoration and love that you have for someone else that you look into their eyes to try to find a semblance of who you are. When you look to somebody and you feel like you can only find truth in their eyes, and the way that they view you gives you a better perspective of who you are as a man. I like the way that he wrote those lines and really made it something that feels deeper than just the physical world. It's like a metaphysical feeling, something that really gives an explanation for why you are the way you are or who you are, and trusting the truth in somebody so dearly that you feel as though you can trust them to help you figure out who you are as a person. And I like that one line where he said one line at a time with all the time on the line. I like that it's just giving the energy of understanding how important it is to him to get a better connection with himself and understanding of himself, but also understanding that life is finite and we don't have forever. So he wants to take every risk that he can if it's going to help him get to where he needs to be. And the title being Smudge is kind of, it connects to the whole song, because it's like, you know how you always hear people say life is but a breath or it's just a whisper. I guess in another way you could phrase it is, you know, our lifespans are really just a smudge in a timeline. It's something that quickly comes and is quickly wiped away. So I like that. I like what you're doing. I like the picture you painted, man. The next song is called Carta Pavona. love the time signatures on this song.
These aren't songs, these noises don't exist. I brought them here for you to hear. Before they disappear. My fear is burning. My fear is burning down. My fear is burning. My fear is burning
That song is beautiful. I think musically that's my favorite. I think musically that's my favorite one so far. I like the fact that he has a sense of bravery and a sense of self-confidence in all of the noise in that song. I like that he's speaking from a more bold perspective while also still letting people know that I'm still working on myself. But I like the fact that, you know, songs like that where the music has such unique time signatures and it makes it kind of hard for you to keep track of at moments. I feel like that be the songs that keep your attention. So I respect the effort into putting that song together. This one is called Unreliable Narrator.
I appreciate your patience as I measure the world, searching for truth, though the trail has gone cold. Clear my throat after every sentence told. You think I'd have learned some by now? I'm getting old. Living in the past while I build a future home. throw my golden tongue and it keeps my whiskers combed. I was right about time, but I was wrong about time. Stretching hours into years to leave it all behind. Sleep and dream of all the things I've yet to be. One with me. Gold, beautiful, your eyes to behold other world.
I love the lyrics on this one. I just love how this album is very vulnerable in terms of showing the anxieties that come with how finite life is when you're constantly in search of trying to figure out who you are and trying to find a higher purpose. But I also love how it really just gives the energy of what is like inside of anyone's mind. Everything is fleeting. Emotions are fleeting. That's why you can't trust your emotions to be a reliable narrator. I love the fact that this song gives kind of that juxtaposition between the reality and the things that your mind tries to paint a picture with. It's like you understand that life is finite. You understand how important it is to get to know yourself on a deeper level and find that oneness. But you also, on the other side, understand that you can't be afraid of the fact that life is going to be what it's going to be. You will run into people that don't want to. You will run into people that aren't living on the same frequency as you, that don't want to hear such deep messaging or hear vulnerability coming from the mouths of men, or hear songs that make you think about something that's deeper than just a TikTok dancing song. But I also like the fact that he speaks with boldness. You know, although people try to shut up my message and they don't necessarily hear what I want to say, for the people who don't want to hear my songs, even if nobody listens, I'll continue singing to the wind. I'll continue putting my songs out there into the world because it helps cleanse me and it helps me feel a sense of oneness with all of the people who want to actually hear where I'm coming from, resonate, and be honest about who they truly are. So I like the fact that it's given a duality of his mental state and showing that speaking from a space of emotional perspective makes for a very unreliable narrator. And if you let your emotions tell a story, it'll lie every time. So if you want to be factual, you have to get with reality and realize that life is what it is, and you're in control of who you are, who you want to be, and how close you get to be with yourself. You just can't be afraid of accepting everything that comes with it. And I think that's really dope. But give me 1 second. Oh, we made it to the title track. This song is called UltraTerrestrial.
I'm on my way, you're already there.
like that because I really love that because first of all, I love the title of the album being UltraTerrestrial because this album seems like you don't want to talk about limiting yourself to being, one thing or the other. What if we as humans, as complete people, transcended all of the expectations that are put on us? What if, instead of like an extraterrestrial, what if when we try to figure out who we are completely and use every part of ourselves as a superpower and tools to be able to become the best versions of ourselves? What if we're something like ultra-terrestrial? What if we're something that just transcends any human expectations that society puts on us, that relationships put on us, that sometimes we put on ourselves? I really feel like this album is giving the energy of wanting to focus on not being afraid of who you truly are and honing every part of yourself and using it to not only focus on being a better you, but being a better person, being a better lover, being a better person that, being the type of person that does everything unapologetically and trusting yourself in the choices that you make in your own life. It's like, I like the fact that it's kind of giving a true oneness with yourself a superpower title, like giving yourself something that just feels transcendent. And I think at the end of the day, you hear people talk so much about how important legacy is and how important it is to build a culture that you and your family can live on, that y'all can live amongst and enjoy one another because you made it past what you might have known. Because, we're all victims of our circumstances. We're all victims of the time that we grew up in. And a lot of us weren't taught how important it is to truly know yourselves because our parents, grandparents, great-grands, and ancestors never had the tools to be able to focus on things like that. They didn't have the freedom to be able to learn who they truly were. And there's something so beautiful. There's something beautiful about getting to that point in the history of your family where you want to be that trailblazer, where you want to be that person that you change the course of your family's trajectory moving forward. And that's like the energy that it all gives me. And it's like, that's not completely what that song was about, but just kind of a synopsis on what the album feels like as a complete. Getting to know yourself and feeling fully aware and confident in the unpredictabilities of it all. But, Herman will let me know if I'm off par or not, but that's just what the music is giving me. The next song is called Soul.
Everything for you. To live within your truth.
That's definitely top three so far in the project for me. I love the lyrics to that one. I love that as the album goes on, he's just having more fun experimenting with different time signatures and honestly just having a lot of fun with the way that these songs are being structured. This was a fun project to listen to. I think we're down to the last 2 songs. So we're going to just listen to those 2 and then we'll talk more about the entire thing at the end. So let's get into it. The next one is Photographic Reflexes.
Detune every string, there will still be songs to sing. Sometimes love can live in disconnected narratives. Never sleep enough, but you dream for all of us. I know you hear my words, take them to your secret world. Cryptic love songs for rainy days. Sing a lovely silence now. Record skips, you wonder how your tongue gives these words their power. Is your everything hiding in a labyrinth of people? You have been the faces of the one within who writes these shapes and words in every song you've ever heard. Things I've said before, you make them mean so much more. Burn like suns Sing a lovely silence now. Record skips, you wonder how your tongue gives these words their power.
No lyrics for the outro? killed that outro. Fire. So, first off, shout out to Herman. I appreciate you for. I appreciate you, but I also commend you for having the strength to be able to put your art out there in front of the world. Put your art out there for interpretation. Put it out there for constructive criticism, all the above, because not a lot of people believe in themselves enough to take that risks. So where I want to start off from the intro, what I really love about Origins is the fact that throughout the course of that 9 minutes, it takes you through different phases, the same way that the album does. But I like the way that that coincides with the messaging that I got from the majority of the songs. He was very intentional about making sure that the outro summed up what the theme of the album gave. Now, granted, it was a loose theme, but it was something that was there nonetheless. I like that the outro and the different ways that he played, the different transitions into different pacing of the music. I like that it gave the same feeling of you going through the different phases of life, you going through the different phases of yourself, because inevitably as we grow older you will continue to change. Everybody goes through different parts of their lives, becomes different people for a season, and throughout the course of your life you'll get to know you'll get to know yourself more and more in depth the more that you grow up and actually care. Because I feel like when you're young and, you know, especially when you didn't have people to teach you the importance of getting familiar with yourself or getting familiar with the world around you and learning how to think for yourself, being able to grow into something that transcends whatever the standards of society are, you just don't know. But as you get older and come into your own, you start to understand that there's always something missing when you don't truly understand who you are or who you want to be. I think the outro encapsulated that perfectly, but the different lyrics and songs on the album gave a perfect balance between self-understanding and awareness, confidence, anxiety. It really just feels like a big mood swing. It really talks a lot about what it's like to care to know yourself, to care to want to prioritize yourself in your own life, but still make room for the world around you. Because innately, the most powerful thing you can do the most powerful thing you can do in this lifetime is to love somebody, to love other people and treat them correctly. But it's kind of hard to do so when you don't have that true love for yourself. You know the old cliche, I can't care for somebody if I don't care for me. I can't do for someone else if I don't do for myself. So truly this album encapsulates the theme of wanting to grow into your own, wanting to understand yourself, wanting to understand what life could be without being bound and held down by all of the societal pressures, societal standards, and everything that the internet puts out there to kind of keep everybody locked into a box. I feel like that's something that people struggle with all around the world, but speaking directly from people that have grown and became adults in America, you know exactly what that feels like, to feel oppressed in your own way, to feel like you have to be whatever is socially acceptable, as opposed to just accepting who you are and letting it flow. I was just saying this to one of my friends the other day. I think the most important thing about life is until you get to a point where you recognize, until you're bold enough to let things go and let life flow as it will, you will never be happy. You'll never be at peace if you're trying to keep everything bound together by your hand and just holding it together. Because eventually your strength will wither. Eventually the hand will loose and you'll lose all grip on all terms of reality that you thought you understood. Sometimes you just got to step back and allow life to evolve naturally the way it was meant to be. And innately through that process, you'll understand who you are and what's important to you, whether good or bad. But, that's people's decision. Shout out to Herman for focusing so much on being intentional with detail. The background noises and voices that we heard is very reminiscent of like me listening to some Pink Floyd stuff. This one gives Dark Side of the Moon-esque energy because it talks about the vast topics and how important it is to understand how finite life is. It makes me think of songs like my bad, I had a little storage issue, but no. Like I said, it's very reminiscent of listening to the different themes that took place on the album, like the Dark Side of the Moon, talking about the finite aspect of time and how important it is to focus on the bigger things in life, to focus on progress, to focus on confidence, self-awareness, intentionality, all of the things that will help you be more confident and be a more well put together human being in all aspects of it. Because at the end of the day, with focusing on the important things in life, you find wealth within, something that's more important than having any amount of money in this world or having songs like Money or things like that, where he's just talking about societal pressures, societal stigmas that get put on people, and how important it is to just sing to the beat of your own drum. Be confident enough to do things the way you want to do it and stand on whatever you feel like is important to you. I feel like this was a really good effort. And although I think the storytelling was more vast on the last project, I appreciate UltraTerrestrial for it being something that really just talks about wanting to transcend everything you've ever known. I think it was a very bold take, and the music was dope. I think the only constructive things I would say is I feel like the mixes need to be worked on a little bit more tight. I feel like your voice gets lost, especially the way that you sing the songs and the way that you push your voice out. It needs to be more centralized. It needs to be more tightly wound so it can be able to cut through the speakers a little bit stronger. But that's just me doing my own music myself. I understand the importance of having a good mix and master, the way that it can push through and make sure that your song lands the way you want to. Because there were parts of it where lyrics got a little bit muffled, and if I wasn't able to read the lyrics at the same time, I feel like a lot of it would have got lost along the way. So that's just a little piece of advice from me. I don't know if you do your own music or not, or if you go to a studio, but I think the mixing and mastering just needs to be tweaked a little bit. And other than that, I have to commend you on making music that feels right for you, regardless of the time frame we live at, where people have short attention spans and don't necessarily like longer music. I think it's important to make music that you had fun with, and I can tell you had fun making this project. But once again, this was episode 2 of checking out some of our subscribers' music. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you can stay in tune every time we drop another banger like this one. Make sure you go show some love to Herman. I'm gonna put all of his social medias and all of his pages that you can connect with him and listen to some of his art, talk to him, whatever it is, support him. I'm gonna put it all in the description box down below, and I'm gonna put the QR code to our Patreon right here. Shout out to all of our beautiful patrons. Because of you guys, we're able to continue to expand and do more fun things like this. And there's a lot of really fun stuff coming over to the Patreon, especially now that we've been working on putting together this PC and getting things together. We're about to get a lot more expansive. So once again, make sure y'all go show Herman some love. And I appreciate you for being bold enough to do this. And to every other up-and-coming artist who wants to put their music out there in front of even more eyes, and you want to hear a different perspective and take on your art, make sure you reach out in the email that we keep in the description box down below. As I always say, all of the best talent is always on its way up, and everybody that you look up to and are inspired by had to start off somewhere. So make sure you stay encouraged, stay hungry, and stay working. And until next time, that's all I got. This was UltraTerrestrial. Make sure y'all go check that out. And until next time, I go by the name of 5. Peace.
How does this go? You you wanna know. You've never been here before. Go with the flow.